10 years. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sunday at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope that you are ready because tonight we're going to be watching some gmod sfm horror stuff like creepypastas and shit, because I was just on YouTube last night and I just started watching them for no reason. I was like, oh yeah, sfm creepypastas, hell yes. Because I just second Saturday. Did I say that it was Saturday? It's Saturday now. I think I definitely meant Sunday. I definitely meant Sunday, but I said Saturday, so that's what it is now. Let I oh yeah, y'all I'm sure that y'all definitely saw the little animated GIF that I had commissioned on Twitter. I literally put it in the post of this no, I've used Sunday as second Saturday. I literally put it in the announcement tweet for this stream, but I figured like I originally got that as like an animated sticker for my new Discord when that opens up soon, and it works really well there. But I figured that it also would do really good as a reactive PNG, so I got that set up, and I think that it works really well. I really like it. Look, she goes like rah. It's so cute. I also just realized that I still haven't changed this scene with the gameplay screen. I still haven't changed it so that there's like a working chat box on it. I just realized there's a lot of things with these scenes that I still need to change. Like I said, and I've been working on D&D stuff the past 2 weeks. Like I started to run like D&D things with some non-VTuber friends. So the past 2 weeks I've just been doing like constant prep for that. And like anytime that I'm not, I also watched like all of Arcane because I hadn't seen it when it first came out. It was pretty good. And so I've been busy with that. I've been watching Arcane and I've been doing D&D prep, and that's literally it. So I probably need to start actually putting work into stream stuff, into content creation things. Maybe it's possible that's what I need to do, but it's fine because like Sunday rolls around, Sunday 4 p.m. EST rolls around, and that just means that we get to watch gmod sfm creepypastas, you know. So let's for me, out of 10, how gay is Arcane? They're two of the main characters get into a relationship, I believe, and they're both women. At least they're implied to get into a relationship. I mean, they probably are in a relationship because they're League of Legends characters, and they probably already have established lore where they're in a relationship. But in Arcane, they act very gay together, and I'm pretty sure season 2 they're like just straight up going to get together. They're a couple characters just call them girlfriends, even though they're like not officially girlfriends. It's fairly gay. Though I don't think that there's like other characters being gay in it. I don't think there's one like background character who seems to be acting kind of gay, but I think that's about it. But at least there are two main characters that are, so that's good. Anyway, let me click on studio mode in OBS so I can like mess with these with this blah 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 YouTube window capture, so I can crop it out properly so you don't see information that you're not supposed to see. Let's see. Window capture, there we go. Being told by some people really thought Jason and Victor were going to be gay. Oh, that's fair. It also, yeah, it did seem like that. The last few episodes were focusing on how Jace is extremely not gay, and so I kind of just focused on that, you know. Sad. It's sad, but all right. That might be good. Ah. Bah, 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 bah. Oh, there's what's with? Oh, I thought this Legend is smart. I thought that this was The Walking Dead because I've been getting so many recommendations for The Walking Dead. Also, these aren't my recommendations, just so you know. These I signed out. These are just generic recommendations, but I've been getting so many recommendations for like the later seasons of The Walking Dead. You know, the seasons that aren't good, which is every season past like season 3. So it's like 8 seasons that aren't good. I think how many seasons are there? Are there 11 seasons of The Walking Dead? I think there are. There's a lot. Oh yeah, I never said hi to everyone. Hi Psycho Thunder. Hi Mocha. I think that's it. Hello. But is that a hot take? What's a hot take? That The Walking Dead later seasons aren't good? No, that's not a hot take. I think that's an extremely cold take. I think literally everyone thinks that. I'm pretty sure literally everyone thinks that The Walking Dead is bad after the first couple of seasons. Same for like the games too, like the Telltale games. Past the first couple of seasons, it's not that good. It's like, because like the later on that you get into the Walking Dead stuff, they focus less on zombies and they focus more on like, oh, but there's like other people that are the bad guys now and no one cares about the zombies anymore. And it's like, cool, but I signed up to watch a zombie show, you know? Like, why would I give a shit about things that aren't the zombies? You only know Z Nation, that's fair. I feel like if any zombie show goes on for too long, it always ends up not being about the zombies. It ends up being like, oh, but humans are the real monsters. And then they have like entire seasons where you like don't even see a single zombie and you just see like people shooting at each other in the woods with guns. And it's lame. It's not interesting at all. Like I don't care. I want 11 full seasons of people getting chased by zombies. That's it. That's all that I want. What the fuck is... Oh, that's a drawing. I was so confused by what I was looking at in this. So gmod SFM creepypastas are extremely just like their own category of things. See, look, there's just SFM creepypastas and they're all from gmod. I actually watched like all these last night. We could watch them again, but they wouldn't be new to me. It's always people shooting at each other in the woods. Yeah, and then sometimes they like have their own colonies or whatever, and then it turns out that and like they seem nice at first, but then it turns out that they're actually evil because they like because the leader has like zombies, like his zombie children trapped in a basement, and he feeds new people to his zombie children or something like that. It's very generic all the time, always. Ooh. Can I like set up? Hang on. So this won't be properly implemented, I don't think. Oh yeah, that's like... Hang on. Ah. Okay, yeah, I don't think that I can change this right now. Because I want to get the chat box like... Okay, yeah, that just won't work, I don't think. Yeah, sadly. I could just swap over to full screen without using this overlay. And that way we could have the chat set up. Because it could just be like the pop-in chat where it pops all over the screen. Oh well. Let me see if I can get that set up actually. Because that just might be better. No, not that. Window capture. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. This is stuff that I should have done instead of doing D&D prep, I guess. It's fine. I have a I'm so excited. My players all have such fun characters. I can't wait to see them. Okay, so it should, or I can't wait for the games to actually start is what I mean. Oh gosh, oh gee, oh nuts. Oh gosh, darn it. Okay, so there, this might be better. This might be better because we actually have a, yeah, we actually have chat on this screen. Okay, yeah, this is good, this is good. Let me turn off the music. Goodbye music. Now it's just me, my voice. Oh my god, it's, I just, now that the music's off, I can hear my fan. That's just gonna annoy me to no end, because like every single summer, I don't have an air conditioning unit in my room, so like I have to use a fan, and it's loud and annoying. I don't think that it can be picked up by this mic, because this mic literally only picks up whatever's like right in front of it. It's a good mic, but I can still hear the fan, and it's annoying. Oh well. Oh well. Gosh. Let's see, what should we listen to first? So I actually did watch a good number of these on the first the first results. I watched a good number of these last night. I didn't watch That's Not Your Friend. It's only like 2 minutes long. Megamind picture, no air conditioner. Yeah. Yeah, closed captions and then quality. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. That's Not Your Friend. Oh wait, what the, oh, it's very cut off. Hang on. The window is, 1 second. There we go. There we go. Now it shouldn't be stretched. That's Not Your Friend.
I'm afraid to look outside the windows at night.
That's loud.
I guess some people are. It's just paranoia, right? I mean, you don't want to look outside your window at night and come face to face with an abhorrent creature.
An abhorrent creature?
But
That's
again,
me.
it's just paranoia, right? Too many scary movies. Spending too much time on creepypasta.
I always liked that name. Creepypasta.
Let me just
It's
tell
fun.
you that you have a reason to be scared. Occasionally, you'll glance outside your window. You might want to know what the weather is like, or you might have a completely different reason, but regardless of your reason, you're not expecting anybody to be standing on thin air outside of your window. You look
out the window at midnight, Penny will steal your bread. Oh, your bread.
I've
never been one that's like, everyone's always like, ooh, garlic bread.
You look over at him and realize,
ooh, garlic bread. I don't know. Garlic bread's kind of eh.
You should go to sleep
kind of
too,
meh.
but you want to spend a
I
bit
just
more
like
time reading some creepypastas.
Homemade like bread rolls. Those
See a
are
shadow
fucking
in your
great.
peripheral vision and immediately shift your eyes to the window. Nothing. You're relieved.
Hi, Scout.
You look
I just
back at the
realized.
computer screen and hear a loud thump on your window. You shift your eyes to the window again, a bit more scared this time. And you're right to be scared.
The
You
face.
see your friend's body hanging outside your
What?
window. And you're horrified.
What are you talking
and it's
about?
then that you realize that your friend was in his bed a few minutes ago, and you look over at his bed.
He's still there? That's his shoe.
You see someone lying there.
But it's your friend.
But that's not him.
No, it's your friend. It looks like your friend. It's your friend. That's such a stupid creepypasta. How did he like How did he like set up some sort of weird contraption that dropped his friend's body over the window at that exact time? Like, how was he doing that stuff with when he was in bed? He's snoozing away. He was just snoozing away. How did he do that? The fact that it's TF2 characters makes this, it's so funny. It's so funny. Oh, the portraits I haven't seen. This is another short one. Portrait. It's so hilarious.
There was a hunter in the woods.
Hunter in the woods.
After a long day of hunting, was in the middle of an immense forest.
Forest.
It was getting dark, and having lost his bearings, he decided to head in one direction until he was clear of the increasingly oppressive foliage.
I love the beard that they gave Sniper.
After what seemed like
look at that beard.
hours, he came across a cabin in a small clearing. Realizing how dark it had grown, he decided to see if he could stay there for the night.
It's like an outhouse, it's not a cabin.
He approached and found the door ajar. Nobody inside. The hunter flopped down on the single bed, deciding to explain himself to the owner in the morning. As he looked around the inside of the cabin,
What?
he was surprised to see the walls adorned by several portraits, all painted in incredible detail. Without exception, they appeared to be staring down at him,
Why are they all like zombies?
their features twisted into looks of hatred and malice.
I think this person's
Staring
taking
back,
liberty with the creepypasta.
Increasingly
I don't think they're supposed to be
uncomfortable,
zombies in the creepypasta. They're just supposed to be like
making a
angry
concerted
portraits.
effort to ignore the many hateful faces. He turned to face the wall, and exhausted, he fell into a restless sleep. The next morning, the hunter awoke.
The hunter.
He turned, blinking in the unexpected sunlight. Looking up, he discovered that the cabin had no portraits,
But they were all just windows.
only windows.
That's so fucking funny. They were just watching him. SFM Siren Head. No. I want to watch gmod stuff. The dead will think you're calling for them. All of these are so short. I love the ones that are like longer.
As the weather gets warmer, I usually find myself spending more evenings on my porch, relaxing with a glass of red wine, gazing out at the wooded area across the street from my house. A couple of weeks ago, I sat on my porch as usual, whistling a tune that had been stuck in my head all day.
I love
My
that
neighbor
whistling
from her
animation.
Turned to me and said,
Ooh.
"You shouldn't
Ooh.
whistle at night.
Why?
The dead will think you're calling for them." And I laughed. "They're closer than you think," she said.
If you're a Twitch streamer, do you become immune creepy staring
Suddenly
at
felt the urge to go back
creepypastas?
inside. The woods started to look a little too dark,
I'm used to horror stuff.
concealing what almost looked like blurry
Like
shapes
even
that
before I
swayed behind
started
the
Twitch
trees.
streaming, and like I would just like watch YouTube scary
I
stuff for
don't
fun.
whistle
I still
at
do
night anymore.
occasionally, like last night.
But they do.
You shouldn't whistle at night. That's such a like general like whistling, and you can't whistle at night. It's always night somewhere. A campfire story of sorts. This one has demo man, so you know it's gonna be good. I never played much TF2. I've always
December
just
10th,
known TF2 characters from
2003.
gmod animations.
My frozen hands tremble. as I fumble to work my
This is
little
kinda
butane
loud.
lighter. The tips of my fingers are raw and bloodied. I wince in pain with every failed attempt to spark a flame. Finally, I
Holy
achieve a dribble
shit.
of fire,
That is a
which
powerful lighter.
impatiently
Hi, Ari.
dances atop the lighter. I carefully lower it to my pile of kindling.
Mostly familiar with the funny
The
quotes.
fire catches,
Yeah,
cautiously, creeps out and spreads until
I
it's a healthy size.
I was never one of those people that
I
did
watch it for a
nothing
while,
but play Gmod.
tending
Mainly
to
because
it
I
until
didn't
it's
have a
strong.
good computer when I was growing up.
Now there's enough light
But
to see around me.
I do know about Gmod, and I did
Enough
play it
heat
some
to
with
survive the
friends.
night.
So I'm like all in that
Here.
culture, kinda.
Deep in the forest with everything frozen and quiet, the only light and sound comes from my fire.
I used to think that
The whole world to
Gary's
me right
mod,
now.
like the G for
Dances
Gary,
and
I used to
sings
think
in a
that
raspy,
it
crackling voice
was
to
like
me.
tied into G-Man,
happy to enjoy
and
its
I thought
company.
that G-Man's name was Gary, but
You can
people just
almost
called him
imagine
G-Man.
me
That's what I
out
used to
here
think.
whispering and babbling happily. So cold. I must be tired. I'm hearing things. The popping and sizzling of the fire is really beginning to sound like words. Maybe I'm just lonely here. Maybe I just really want someone to talk to. Coherence in the chaos of the fire. Could have sworn I heard it say, "It's so cold." There it was again. Softer this time. I lean closer to the blaze and its warmth caresses my face, setting me at ease.
This one's boring.
I'm listening intently now. Anxious for what I'll hear next. If you let me die tonight, you'll die tonight.
What, the fire's talking to him?
It said it clearly, albeit in a raspy,
The
sing-songy voice
fire's
with fire
talking to
consuming
him?
wet
What?
branches. Yet, even as the words became clearer, they became softer, drawing me in closer to make out the next statement. The warmth splashes over me as I inch my face closer, and the frost that had settled in my bones begins to thaw. The fire's speaking constantly now, chattering quietly to itself. I can only pick out bits of words and portions of sentences.
The fire's talking to him. Just
Closer,
get closer.
watch closely.
Jump into it.
If I die, you die. I'm the only thing keeping you alive. Pay attention.
Pay attention.
The fire
Pause your bones.
ends its tirade with a loud snap of burning wood.
It's tirade? I thought
That's
it was
why.
talking quietly.
I lean in closer,
Smooch it.
eager to receive whatever secrets is coming next. The heat's no longer pleasant. It sears me as the flames playfully lick at my face.
So back
The
up.
fire is being coy. It's teasing me with its silence to see how long I'll wait on it.
What are you
Smoke reaches
talking
into my
about?
nostrils and the embers float carelessly from the heart of the fire in my eyes, which are now welling with ash. I don't care.
What?
I want to hear what comes next. Closer.
Closer.
Pay attention. Watch closely. Now, more than ever.
So you just stick your
In other news, the charred body of an unidentified man was found deep in the mountains.
Is that
in the
Ruby?
forest east
Hang
of
on.
the city.
I'm blocking Ruby. Hang on. Hang on. Hang on, I'm moving. Look, it's Ruby.
Investigators have
Fuck.
stated that the man appeared to have caught fuse. The charred body of an
Look at her.
unidentified man was found deep in the mountains in the forest east of the city. Investigators have stated that the man appeared to have caught fire while sitting by his campfire and inexplicably did not appear to have made any effort to
Oh my
extinguish himself.
god.
His burned remains were found frozen in position by the icy temperatures, leaning over the ash of a long extinguished fire. In what is perhaps the most bizarre detail of the grisly scene, the man is reported to have been found with an expectant smile still on his face.
Why did he do that? Like, yeah, the fire talks to you. You don't have to, like, listen to it. You can just, like... Oh, look at that. Hi, Germa. Hi, Germa. Fuck. Scarecrow. Okay, I'm moving back to the spot. Hang on. Ah.
I can hear the whistling again. It's the final weeknight, and again, he has come. Whistling that little ditty, repeating it again and again. Enough times to drive the sanest of men crazy.
You can't whistle at night. We already established this.
I can see through the window.
Some of these are either too loud or too quiet.
Cornfield, the rustling of plants. The maddening whistling. It's all culminating to a feeling of hopelessness, dread. Like being faced with a gun. We're up against a wall. I know he wants to find me, but I don't know what he wants. I don't want to know what he wants. All I want is for this to be over with.
Half of these creepypastas is just like, they don't have build up. It's just suddenly just like, yeah, there's a dude
and the
and he's
dread
whistling.
in my stomach is becoming worse and worse every second, with only my need to keep quiet preventing me from either screaming in fear or throwing up from the sickening tension. It feels like time is torturing me, making things seem slower than they are to keep my anxiety levels sky high, but it feels all too soon when he finally shows his face through the green fog-like plants. All I can see is his smile.
Oh, he's smiling.
A stitched,
Oh, it's a
malicious
scarecrow.
smile, like it was sewn shut to keep his hatred from spewing forth. The dim lamp swaying back and forth as he comes through the corn, effortlessly, almost gliding through like a ghost. I'm nauseating. Seeing his dimly lit figure wander towards me. Wander towards my little house.
Your tiny little house, your little
It's
baby
even
house.
worse, trying to figure
Your
out
little
what he
dollhouse.
even wants from me. Does he want me dead? Does he want me to go mad? I can't tell, but what's for certain is that whatever he wants is not pleasant. My gut tells me to make a run for it, but I know for a fact that he's faster. The times I try to escape have usually been worse, or at least the most terrifying.
Oh, so this has happened multiple times,
I feel
got
his
my
cold,
guy.
clammy hand on my shoulder. That's how close it got. He's at the door. I can hear it slowly creaking open. God knows how he can open a locked door, but at this point I'm too frightened to care. I hide in my cupboard, sweat dripping out of me like a water balloon that got punctured. The whistling. Right underneath me, and the constant creaking of the floorboards giving me shivers. Every time I hear it, he's coming up the stairs. And the dim light is slowly creaking through the cracks in the cupboard. Brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
Getting louder and louder. Every synapse in my body is getting so tense it hurts. The light stops, getting brighter, and the whistling like it's almost right next to my ear, and then I let out a breath.
That sound effect, was that a fucking phasmophobia sound effect?
The whistling stops. No.
When did this come out?
Oh God, no, he knows where I am. He'll find me, and it'll all be over. I can hear his breathing, just his footsteps. A few seconds go by, but no noise, no whistling. Just infinitely tense silence. And the whistling begins again. He walks away, leaving me in my scared stupor. The door closes. The light fades. And I'm left scared and alone, dreading the next week,
Why don't you leave?
and dreading that next time.
You say that it's bad when he's chasing you,
I
but
won't be
like,
so lucky.
you have a full week before he does that. Like, you can just go. My guy, my buddy, my pal soldier, you can just go. Train ride. I think it's another loud one, maybe. Why? Oh, Scout with the demon eye.
It had been a long, tiring day at work. It was quiet as I waited alone for the train. It was just a bit after midnight, and so dark that I could only see the square foot around me that the small light illuminated from above.
Like the immortal snail, like just walk away, my guy.
Fortunately,
Yeah, like
I wasn't stuck waiting long for the train.
I think that
Eagerly, I ran in
I-
the second the doors opened.
I think that It Follows has a good movie
were only two other
concept,
men
but
in
it
the
was
compartment.
executed kind of poorly.
Not unusual for this time of night. The place reeked of smoke from the older man huffing on his cigarette.
Also,
He took
the
another
It
long
Follows
drag of it
demon
and
kind
watched
of
me
breaks
as I
its
came in
own
and took
rules
my
all the
seat.
time.
I sat and looked up at the other man, sitting across from the smoker. He was only about 5 seats away, but his face was hidden by his hood, so I had trouble making out his features.
Why are you paying attention to the other people on the
His
train, my
eyes,
guy?
though. I could see them clearly. One was normal, but the other was red, where it should have been white. He
Oh, he had a
stared
burst
shamelessly
blood
back
vessel?
at me with a tight, almost pained expression. I nodded at him, trying to break the tension, but he just continued to stare at me.
Don't pay attention to the other people on public
So I
transit.
looked out the window, trying to
Just
ignore
ignore
his
them.
gaze, but I could still feel his eyes on me. The train lights began to flicker and went out for a moment. "Sorry, folks," said a voice over the static of the PA. "We're gonna get maintenance on that in the morning. We apologize for any inconvenience." My stomach dropped, and I struggled to control my breathing. I reminded myself that there was no reason to be afraid of the dark. I was a grown man, a tax-paying adult who... Oh,
Good tax bank.
thank God.
that's
The
really
lights came
funny,
back on.
actually.
I hadn't even realized my eyes were shut tight. Sighing, I opened them to see the man's unsettling eyes staring directly into mine
My
from
guy.
only 2 seats away.
He moved closer.
Bewildered, I looked over at the older man who hadn't moved from his seat. He took another drag from his cigarette and coughed, acting like nothing had happened.
Oh, can he not see the guy?
The train rumbled down the tracks. I was afraid to look back at the red-eyed man. I didn't want to. I didn't want to move or even breathe.
This is what happens when you pay attention. See,
I tried to convince
the
myself
smoky
that the whole
guy's
thing
not
was
paying attention
in my
to him.
mind. Maybe I was just tired from a long day of work.
This is what you get for paying attention to
Maybe
other
I was
people on
just
public
paranoid,
transit.
and he wasn't even looking at me. The lights flickered again and went out,
Is he gonna be
I
sitting
held my
next to you?
breath. waiting for the lights to come back. After a moment, they did. But the man... he was in the seat next to mine. His face only a few inches away from me. I leaned back. "What the hell is your problem? What are you doing?" He didn't respond. Instead, the smoker
Yeah, the
angrily
smoker
said,
guy can't see him.
Look, kid, if you wanted me to put out the cigarette, you could have asked nicely, alright?
"Not you, man. This guy." The smoker stared at me for a second, confused.
He's gonna be sitting in his lap next time, yeah.
It's, just you and me in here, kid. You alright?
The red-eyed man hadn't moved or responded at all. Then the lights went out again.
But you're alive, right? Because you were able to write the story, you know? This is an unreliable narrator. How do we know that's how it went? How to speak to the dead with spy. I can't read that. That's in another language.
Do you have a dead relative? Have you ever wanted to say goodbye, but it was too late? See, there's a way you can talk to your dead relatives, maybe a grandparent, a mother, a father, a son, a daughter. This is a way you can do it, but beware, because you're going to be tampering with evil forces whom you cannot control.
What, see, this guy, is Spy gonna perform necromancy?
Go to the cemetery in which the relative is buried at exactly 4 a.m.
At
Any
exactly
other time
4
will not
a.m.
work. You must go to the gravestone the relative is buried in. Be quiet. This is very vital to your safety. Approach the grave. Do not use any tools that emit light, however dark it may be.
This is just like
You must approach
necromancy
the gravestone,
instructions.
and slowly. Oh.
Ooh.
So
Oh. Ooh, so slow.
Get down on your hands and knees.
He's just
Close your
bowing.
eyes. Say this. Obscuro autem vos de sepulchro tu, ex aturno tu somnus, apero oculos tu et amino purgabit.
And you like have a script?
Keep your eyes closed.
Or do you have to
And
memorize
in
it
3
for
to
it to
4
work?
minutes, you will feel something touch your arm. Do not get scared. Do not open your eyes. If you see him, he will not like it. After the being lets go of your arm, you may open your eyes. You will see they will be looking the way you best remember them as. Unfortunately, their eyes
Like
will
commits
not
crimes
be
against God like a normal French person. Yeah, like
leaving them rather
David Cage.
filmed or gone completely. You cannot talk
Fuck,
to
the
entity like that
Quantic
once
Dream was going
To initiate
when they announced that they were going to be
conversation,
making like a Star Wars
How have
game.
you been?
It was so fucking funny because that game's not going to
The
get
only thing
made.
they will ever say.
If it does, it's going to get
I'm
made
doing
like
fine.
6 years from now.
You? The only thing you can say is, I'm also doing fine. Thank you. Anything else will displease them. If you say anything else, you have a 50-50 shot of them disappearing or your neck being broken.
What?
After this.
What?
She or he will ask,
Hey,
may
come
I
on.
hug you? Do not answer.
Oh, don't even answer at all. Okay.
If you say yes, they'll grab you by your leg and drag you down with them for eternity. If you say no, they will get displeased. And then you'll have a 50-50 chance of your neck being broken or them leaving.
Spy.
To counter this, you must say, I would like to speak to...
This is so
the
standard,
man.
yeah.
Say this in an asserting tone, but be cautious. You don't want to get them mad, would you? At this time, they will nod their head. You must close your eyes. Again, you'll feel a touch, not the same touch, a familiar touch. You may now open your eyes and you will see the exact same figure you saw before, but only this time. They will be the relative. Don't
Aw.
film or attempt to bring them out of their graveyard. Any attempt at this will have a very displeasing outcome.
Here's 50-50 shot of your
So
neck
don't
being
bring anyone
broken.
with you. Go alone. You may now talk to the relative as you remember them. This is the time when you are able to say goodbye, or even ask what death is like. If you want to end the conversation, all you must say is goodbye in their name. Hope to see you soon. At this time, you must close your eyes once again. When you open them, they will be gone for good.
For good, never to return.
Any other attempt to say goodbye will result in them not listening to you. They will follow you out of the cemetery in which
You will have a
you will be
100%
slaughtered.
chance of your head being torn off.
Don't be sad when they leave. You will be hearing from them soon.
Fuck, these are so good. I love SFM creepypasta shit. It's so funny. It's like, it's just so funny that these things are happening to the TF2 characters. God. What's this person? What are their videos? Okay, I already saw that one. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. All of these I've already seen. Come on. I wanna. Oh, I haven't seen Don't Take the Elevator at 3 a.m. actually.
I was too busy during the day to do laundry. That's what I told myself, but mainly, I just wanted some time out of the week to just be alone and unwind with my thoughts. The laundry room in the basement was always close to empty for the most part, save for a few college-goers in the early hours of the morning, so I always found myself there, squatting next to the spin cycle of my thoughts in the washer. Most of the time, I just pondered randomly and let my mind do its own white noise thing for a while.
Dissociating.
I must have been there on a Friday night, Saturday morning, and it was completely empty.
Oh, those were just white
It was
and
early in
black
the
trash
morning when
bags.
my
I thought they
laundry
were
finished
penguins.
the dryer cycle, and I pulled my clothes out ready to collapse into bed in my apartment on the 15th floor of the building. I made my way over to the only elevator that came down into the basement in the center section.
Doing a slob squat. This is in Russia.
While waiting for the doors to open and with the help of the ceiling lamp, I started to read the notice board and the posters that advertised what was going on for the next month. Looking at the clock behind me, I noticed it was starting to get really late. Exactly 3 a.m. I really shouldn't keep doing this to my sleep schedule, I thought. I almost didn't hear the elevator doors open behind me. And if it weren't for the voice, I would have stepped in.
There was a voice.
That moment of hesitation probably,
why is he
in
talking to us
retrospect,
now?
had saved me from an unknown fate. You know how elevators sometimes have a voice in their speakers to announce the floor and
No.
the direction it was heading?
No. What? What the
For
fuck
example,
are you
if
talking
it was
about?
on the 3rd floor on its way down, it would say something like, 3rd floor, going down.
No. They don't. No, they don't do that. I've never seen an
voice
elevator that
spoke
has
from
like
the
voice
elevator
box.
Came out
never
many
seen that.
octaves lower and much slower than usual.
Basement. Going down.
I felt a wave of uneasiness wash over me. There was never, for as long as I've lived in the building, floors lower than the basement. I had never
Rich
seen a
people
button
elevators,
lower than B
yeah.
for basement in the elevator.
Because rich people don't know how
I
to
felt
read.
at that moment an extreme fear root my feet into place as I stood in front of the parted doors. The elevator doors usually shut after a few seconds, but they remained open for almost a complete minute, as if waiting for me to get in. When they finally closed, I had the impression it had given up for the time being. While not wanting to take the strange elevator, I also really was against the idea of climbing 15 flights of stairs with my laundry
Really?
until at this hour.
What are you talking? Do that.
I decided to wait for the elevator to come back.
What are you talking about?
It might have just
It
been
was a demon
faulty
elevator.
speaker, I rationalized. It was an old building. I suspected that maintenance hadn't caught on yet because nobody had noticed it at this hour. Surprised, I heard the sound of the elevator continuing down below the floor of the basement for an unknown number of floors before I heard the faint but unmistakable ding that signified the opening of the doors.
How many? What? You can't
So
hear
there
it
were
open
floors beneath the
floors
basement.
away.
How deep did the building go?
Maybe a single floor.
I remembered
like above
how
you or
deep the
below.
dinging sound
Maybe.
came from underground, and the muffled shuffle of what sounded like multiple people piling into the elevator, and suddenly felt like it wasn't the best idea to stay here waiting for the doors to open. I looked up at the highlighted button. It hadn't been my brightest idea to press it. I only wanted to go upstairs faster, but now I was scared
Then
of seeing
take
the occupants from the elevator from its underground trip.
Literally, his only reason for not
I
taking
had
them is because he
basically
said that he doesn't
guaranteed
want to.
that
Like
the
what?
elevator would open on the basement on its way up. As soon as I came to that conclusion, I heard the elevator murmur on its way up, and I sprinted for the stairs that took me into the lobby.
Yeah, no, he's what
Halfway
the
up
fuck?
the stairs, I heard the ding of the doors opening on the basement floor. I didn't dare look back. As I reached the main lobby, I took a breath. It was silent, but it was calm and well lit, and I suddenly felt a bit silly for overreacting. I looked down at the dark stairwell to the basement, aware that I never heard the elevator doors close.
How
Had
this
it
guy has
always
super
been that dark
hearing?
in the basement?
What? What's the what? What are you talking about? What is the implication behind that story? That the entire building is the elevator? What the fuck is he talking about? That is like the most incomprehensible story that I've ever heard. Dude, you can't hear an elevator open like 7 floors down. You can barely hear it like a single floor down, if that. Ugh. I love gmod creepypastas. They're so stupid. The supermarket monster.
Once, in a place far away, a very long time ago,
Okay.
there
why
was a
does it-
boy named
Why did
Roger.
it open like this?
He was tall, but a bit round, and he lived in a big city where unusual things seemed to happen every day. For example, his uncle died.
That's not that
Anyway,
unusual.
Roger
What?
had lots of enemies in
Anyway,
the city.
what?
All the people he used to
Lots of
like were now
enemies?
his enemies because he changed.
They were his enemies.
He used to be a really successful banker named Ron,
Wrong.
but now he decided to go another way. And now he's a hobo named Roger. Because of this, his friends thought they didn't like him anymore.
Why did he
so
change
they
his
said,
name?
"You're our enemy now."
What? What?
And Roger was like, "Oh no, I have no friends, but loads of enemies." Roger lives day to tomorrow by the change he gets off strangers outside McDonald's, but sometimes
Shut up!
when he gets enough money, he goes to the local shopping center called Teco.
Teco.
He only buys things when they're on sale because he doesn't have any much money. Sometimes, he even gets enough change to buy chicken when it's on sale. And he goes into KFC and says, "Can you cook this for me?" And they do it because they're his enemies and spit in the food. Yuck.
What? What?
Today,
What? The KFC workers spit
On the most
this
windy
food?
and stormy and rainy and cloudy and sad of days, he decided that he needed to eat, and went to Teco. When he went inside, there were no baskets. This was weird, Roger
There
thought.
weren't any baskets.
That must be giving them a break today, so he kept going.
That must be giving them
He
a
saw
break
that the
today.
bread was on sale, so he was going to buy it, and then a big fat hairy man ran up to him and said, "No!
No!
That's not for you." And he took the sale sign away, which made the bread go back up to $100,000. This is all in the future, so that's normal for the future. Roger made a face similar to this, and he said, "But if you don't give me that, I will strive." And the fat man laughed, and his fat went bouncy from laughing. And then one of Ron's enemies died, so Ron felt his anger rising.
What?
That happens when his enemies die.
That happens
And he
when his
punched the
enemies
man so hard that his fat fell off, and the man was so angry that he cried blood. And then the lights
Damn.
went out so fast that Roger knew that he was going to be murdered. A black mist came out from the cereal boxes, and the bacon was flying everywhere, pancake mix splattering over the counters.
Holy
Freezers freezing at higher temperatures than normal.
shit. Slightly
Because
higher.
freezing the frozen pizzas is too much.
Too frozen.
Ron ran way far away to that aisle that always full of people. It has like loads of sweets and crisps. Yum.
Crisp.
There was like
Yum.
15 monsters there, all black with eyes oogly with blood and tears that looked like bacon but were actually dead people's skin. And he screamed, "Fat man, help!" But when the fat man came her, he said, "You punched my fat and now you'll pay. I am your enemy." And then he ran and went inside of a freezer, but forgot that the freezers froze too hard, and now he died from freeze.
Oh my
Roger
god.
ran to an exit,
But his anger rose because one of his
and was
enemies
almost
died.
out
That
when he
makes him
tripped
angry.
on something, and he looked down and he saw his enemy saying, "Help me, the pancakes are too string." And then he said, "No, I am Roger. You are Ron's friend, not mine, Smelly." And he ran out the door. He was safe. He got out. He escaped. He avoided death. He was alive. He was tall. He was safe. He was Roger. And then
The
he went
hero.
back in for the bread, but forgot about the monsters. So when he got to the bread, the monsters came out between the slices and cried blood from their mouths, saying, "We are your enemies, Ron." He said, "How do you know my old name?" And then they ate him, and he just fell down on the floor crying from death. His last words were, "I am all your enemies." And then he fell down and died. Just before he died, he said, "I will now be a supermarket monster." So when you're in a supermarket,
Whoa.
remember that Ron is waiting.
I thought he was Roger.
In the future, though, because it's in the future, remember?
Yeah, it's in the future because the bread costs $100,000. You. Oh my god. The only thing they fear is you, gmod, ARG. Minigun. What is this? That's loud. He's just killing all the G-Man. How is this an ARG? Is that modern Doom music? No, I think that was knockoff Doom music. I think that was royalty-free Doom music. Yeah, so who is this Dune Jumper guy? Surprised Freddy Fazbear isn't there? Yeah, fair. Okay, the infection was also made by him. What's the infection? Is this that game mode that everyone wants in Halo Infinite, but they haven't added it yet because they released Halo Infinite too early? Oh wow. That was rude. Is that Father Gregory? No. I love how much all these games and like SFMs and stuff, they try to have like a Cry of Fear vibe. Everyone loved Cry of Fear around this time. I don't think I ever actually played it. I just saw like playthroughs of it when it first came out. Fuck, I should play that on stream. Cry of Fear is really good. Look at all the zombies. Flammable. You know, I would appreciate a bit more lighting. Yeah, I love the shotgun shooting multiple pistol rounds. What's Cry of Fear? It's an old indie horror game, where you play as a dude named Cry of Fear, and he like has a hoodie, and you can wield like a knife and a gun. And it's basically like, oh, he's crazy and he sees monsters. It's one of those stories, but it's like the game's actually fairly cool. It's kind of obtuse a bit, but it's like an old indie horror game, so that's kind of fair. It kind of has vibes similar to just the Fear series, like the AAA soldier horror game, but it's like better than fear. Oh my god, this is like stop motion. So what's the story here? Is there's just zombies and he's like walking underground now. Like there's no story. This feels like The Walking Dead. What's a good old-fashioned indie horror game if it isn't a little obtuse? Yeah. All old indie horror games are obtuse. Like half of them were just like custom maps of not indie horror games, like Amnesia custom maps, or like gmod custom maps, or even Cry of Fear custom maps. Like it had a custom map system. Oh, zombie. Dude, grab your gun. I love the stop motion. It's great. Train. Teddy bear. Ah. This this is like 8 minutes of nothing. It's like the most generic like zombie thing ever. Like there's no story. Why is that car running? A safe house that way. Those aren't car door slam effects. They're like gunshots that were slightly quiet. Echo. No, there's zombie. It's not a safe house. It's not a safe house. It's a not safe house. It's a danger house. No one does that. Why are you just tossing it everywhere? I love the way he peeks around corners. So what makes this a safe house? The fact that it can be easily broken into by a single zombie. The fact that it has Echo written on the wall. Grenade! That grenade took forever to explode. That was awful. My God, that was the worst one we've seen tonight. I don't understand. I don't either. So I've already seen this one. So Mr. Sniper, I believe, makes decent ones. Yeah. So I've already seen this one. I Will Never Rent a House Near the Woods Again. I'm gonna watch it again with y'all because it's actually good. It's one of the like decent ones. I mean, obviously none of them are like good because it's gmod SFM, but look at that in the window.
I absolutely love summer.
Fuck. I have to redo that.
I absolutely love summer. It's probably my most favorite time of the year. I know some people prefer autumn or spring, and those seasons are great too. But for me, there's just something relaxing about a warm summer day.
So
Almost
relaxing.
every year or so, a few of my friends and I have a little get-together. We all take some time off from work and plan some sort of event. Last year was Eric's world-famous barbecue party. Everything was great, until Eric set a stack of paper plates on fire, and those blew into the various tablecloths we had arranged.
Oh no.
We managed to curtail the fires before they had time to spread any further, but that didn't deter the fire department from showing up anyway.
Hey, Pyro.
The year before that, Jimmy invited us over to his house for a pool party of sorts. He has a very nice in-ground pool. None of us swam in it. We mostly just hung around his minibar drinking and generally carrying on. Nothing outrageous.
Why would you have a pool
happened
party
during
and
that
not
party.
swim? The fuck?
Oh, wait. Never mind, I forgot. Eric wanted to show off his mega super awesome cannonball, but slipped before reaching the water, and ended up cracking his tailbone before sliding into the water like a blob. Don't run next to pools, kids. I could go on and on about all the events we've experienced in the past, but I'm here to talk about what happened during my event last month. Like I mentioned previously, we had all taken some time off work, and it was my turn to decide what we'd all do. We usually didn't take turns choosing like this.
I love the
but no one
idea of the
seemed to come up with a
TF2
different plan.
characters like having
I had been browsing through different destination
yearly
spots and
meetups.
activities around my area.
where they just go and
After
have
searching
fun
for
together.
around an hour or two, I stumbled across a rather interesting post. Someone was renting out a lake house about an hour's drive north. Looking through the photos and glancing over the price, I knew right away this is what I wanted to do. I called the place and rented it out for the weekend. The woman on the phone sounded oddly excited about me renting the property. After speaking with her and finalizing everything, I immediately called everyone else and told them my plan. They were all almost as excited as the woman. Eric wanted to bring his grill with him so we could barbecue one day, and Jimmy brought some fishing
I love that
gear so we could
Eric's
lounge
so
by the
obsessed
lake.
with this girl.
Our other friend Pete tagged along with us as well.
Pete.
He isn't a very outdoorsy type of person, but he still offered to come with. We each arrived at the lake house about mid-afternoon. The sun wasn't quite setting, which was good as it gave us a bit of time to survey the area and inspect the house itself. The house was much larger than I expected. For the price I paid to rent it, it seemed like I had gotten a really good deal.
The place is kind of
It's
shit.
nestled between the massive lake and the crowded woods behind it. Only a solitary dirt trail cuts through the tree line leading to and from the house itself. Eric was already unloading his grill not 5 minutes after he arrived, while Jimmy, Pete, and I entered the house.
Eric loves his girl.
The interior was very
That's
rustic,
his wife.
but I already knew this much from the photos. Different types of mounted animals dotted the high walls. The living room area was quite large. It looked almost like a recreation hall. A wooden staircase wrapped along one edge leading up to multiple bedrooms. An expansive kitchen took up the other half of the bottom floor, as well as a decent-sized bathroom. It looked like this place was designed for big groups of people to rent and enjoy. After exploring the house for a bit, I wandered outside and took in the surroundings. It was such a peaceful evening. As I stood there, breathing in the fresh air, I noticed something strange. Apart from Eric fiddling around with his grill, there was no sound coming from the forest.
Zero sound.
I
Sometimes
couldn't
the
hear
forest
any
is just
birds,
quiet.
animals, or even insects. Hell, I could barely hear the sound from the lake nearby.
Well, so yeah,
Even though it was
insects
odd, I tried
do
not to
make
think
noise
much of it.
constantly.
An hour or so passed by, and after eating some burnt steaks Eric so graciously made for us, we each retired to our respective bedrooms. Sleeping in a new place always made me feel a bit nervous. I may be the only one, but whenever I'd stay in a hotel or at a friend's place, it always takes me forever to fall asleep. At least during the first night. This isn't really a major issue, and it doesn't keep me from traveling, just an odd quirk, I guess. The bedrooms were quite nice. Minimal, yet decent. It had a small wooden-framed bed, a stout dresser, and a nightstand with a small lamp. An empty closet adorned the wall adjacent to the door, and on the far wall was a long window that overlooked the trees and the lake. I was lying there, letting my mind wander as my eyes danced around my room. I wasn't staring at anything in particular, just trying to take in my surroundings so I could fall asleep more easily next time. Minutes slowly ticked by, and I started to feel my eyelids close.
I like pass out in
Before a
hotel
faint
rooms.
bit of movement out of the corner of my eye caused me to open them once again. I couldn't be sure, but I thought for a split second, I saw someone standing outside my window.
I can't imagine that the beds
But that
in this
couldn't
building
be
are
possible,
comfy
as
at
the
all.
bedrooms were on the second floor, and it was a straight drop down to
Like
the
even
dirt
hotel
below.
beds usually aren't that comfy.
My
but
eyes
like,
locked onto the window.
I can
but after
usually just
focusing for a
pass
bit,
out in a hotel bed.
There was nothing out of the ordinary. The next day, we all got up bright and early. There wasn't a whole lot to do aside from wander around the property, so that's what I did. Eric was already prepping some food while Pete and Jimmy had started day drinking. I stood outside on the wooden porch with a cup of coffee, looking out to the tree line nearby. I once again let my eyes drift around as I sipped my coffee. Once again, there was hardly any sound, which I still thought was odd. I wondered why it was so quiet in the woods, a place that is often filled with the sounds of life. As my eyes drifted, I spotted a bit of movement in the distance. It looked like something large moving quickly through the trees.
A bear.
I thought it might have been a bear,
A hyena.
but before I could adjust my gaze,
Hi,
whatever it
Minty.
was had disappeared further into the
Minty,
trees.
Minty, Minty. Can I get a shout out for Minty,
The rest of the day
please?
was uneventful. We spent most of the time down near the lake, drinking and fishing. Eric cooked up some burgers which surprisingly weren't
I
terrible.
hope you're doing good, Minty.
And before we knew it, the sun had faded. We all went to our bedrooms for the night, and I didn't have much trouble falling asleep this time.
Oh, Ari might not be here. I can
Around
shout you
10
out.
minutes after I had drifted off, I was
S.O.
startled awake by the
Minty,
sound
you
of screaming.
screaming. Oh, screaming.
My eyes cracked open, and I sat up looking around in the darkness. It took me a minute to recognize the voice. It was Jimmy. As I opened my bedroom door, I saw Eric opening his as well. We each gave each other a confused look before going to Jimmy's door and knocking. After receiving no answer, I opened his door. Jimmy was sitting on the floor wide-eyed, covered in sweat. I asked him what was wrong, however, he wouldn't turn to look at me. His eyes seemed to be fixed on something else.
So scared.
Eric and I both glanced over in unison towards his window. When we did, I heard Eric over my shoulder shout, "What the hell is that?" I didn't say anything. I just felt my muscles tighten. On the other side of Jimmy's window
A
was
monster. Hang on. Hang on. Ah, no, wrong. Ah. Hang on. What the hell is that? It's a horrible monster. It's an awful monster.
Jimmy's window was a figure.
Ah.
It wasn't anything I had ever seen before. With a faint bit of moonlight outside,
Hang on, hang on, hang on. This is harder than you'd think. Ah. What that? There we go.
I could just barely see its face.
Ah.
I know this is going to sound very weird, but its face was almost dog-like in appearance.
Woof. Woof. Rawr.
It had a long snout and beady, hollow eyes. From what I could tell, its body was completely hairless. I'm not sure if it was just the moonlight outside or what, but its skin was a dark gray color with a bluish tint to it. Its eyes continuously.
I'm sorry that I was interrupting the
like someone
horror experience.
It was unsettling how jittery this thing was. It felt like an eternity of all of us sitting there watching this thing watch us. Then, it started to descend from the window. Jimmy and Eric didn't move a muscle. Yet, for some reason, I felt drawn to the window. I peered outside and saw it. Despite its massive size, it crawled down the side of the house like a spider. It crawled on all fours as it made its way to the ground below. Its hands were strangely human in appearance, but its hind legs were animalistic, like a dog or maybe a wolf. Its head turned back to look up at the house, and I could just faintly see its beady eyes darting around before it took
how
off
much
into
this
the
guy's
woods,
trying to
disappearing
not
beyond the
say
darkened
that it was
tree
a
line.
fucking werewolf.
Eric, Jimmy, and I all sat there staring at each other for a few moments, before Pete came stumbling into the room asking what was going on. None of us said anything.
Oh, Pete.
And we all went back to our rooms. I doubt either of us slept a wink that night.
You went back to
The
sleep?
following
What are you
day, as we all
talking
packed
about?
up to leave, I couldn't help but stare at the strange footprints in the dirt leading off into the woods. What made me nervous wasn't the fact that these footprints confirmed that what we saw that night was real, but there were at least 10 more identical yet separate tracks leading off in various directions. It's been close to a month since then, and I've just tried to forget about the whole event. I still have no idea what that thing was, but I doubt I'll be renting any more houses in the woods.
Like, dude, just say werewolf. You're just like, oh, it's like a human, but it's got some human features, but it also has dog features, and it's out at night during the full moon. What could it be? Dude. Just my guy. Just say it's a werewolf. Oh, it's the Loch Ness Monster. What else do we got? What else do we got? Mr. Sniper, I know, has done some other things, I think. Playlist. No. Maybe I'm thinking of another guy. Yeah, I guess that was his only SFM horror or something. Wasn't bad. Wasn't bad compared to some of the others, for sure. The McDonald's building animated creepypasta. I've not seen this one. 7 minutes long. Why is Ronald's head there? BRB, okay. Oh, why? Why? What are you doing? No. Bad. A Librarian original remake. Okay. Whispering Oaks amusement parks and fairgrounds. Any place called Whispering Oaks is like haunted. That shit has a monster in it. There are probably like 50 different missing kids posters up in that town.
A few months ago,
That was kind of loud.
I was driving along the streets of Los Angeles with my friend Zach.
Is that what
till
LA
I
looks
realized
like?
we were running out of gas. We were trying to park somewhere to give our car a rest, but no luck. Then, something caught our eyes.
Okay, I'm gonna move.
It was a McDonald's building, with Ronald McDonald at the top of it. When we parked by the parking lot, we noticed that there was no customers inside. It was weird.
There was no customer.
Considering that
Grammar,
McDonald's is open
please.
24/7. Also, there were no cars either. I could have swore that the Ronald McDonald statue turned its head against me.
I don't think
I
the
told Zach about
statue is
it,
like a giant
But
head
when he saw it,
on
it
top
was in
of
normal
the.
position. He told me I was going nuts, but the statue did turn its head. I then heard a faint laugh coming from the inside.
This
We got
sucks.
terrified. I tried opening the door, but it was locked by a rusty master combination lock. We didn't have time to figure out the combination, so Zach pulled out his gun and shot at it. It was finally unlocked.
He shot. What? Why did he shoot it?
We opened the door to the inside.
It's a
What we
McDonald's.
saw was so horrible. There were dead corpses
You couldn't have.
all over
What?
the tables and chairs,
You didn't see that
and
from.
lots of blood in the soda machine. We puked in the trash can that was next to us. But before we did that, I saw mutilated arms and legs inside, which made us puke even more.
How did McDonald's end up like this?
We were so hungry, so we ran into the kitchen.
We were so hungry.
There were fries and a few burgers. I thought we finally found food, until we saw more corpses. This time, they had no eyeballs, just blood coming from the sockets. Their stomachs had been ripped open with the organs ripped out.
Gross.
I tried ignoring them, but they still bothered me. I didn't even have time to eat fries. We tried escaping through the main door.
Yeah. How do
but
y'all
mysteriously
eat
locked
your
by
meals?
itself.
Like I eat fries
We were now
before I
prisoners inside
before I
the
eat
building.
the main thing. I always eat the side
We got
first,
scared just
and
by
then I eat the
staring
main
at
thing
corpses.
after.
Zach and I spit it up, trying to look for an exit. He went to a door that was covered in oil. I didn't want to enter with him, because I felt that danger was lurking behind the door.
Danger was lurking.
That's when I saw a small bomb in one of the dining tables.
What?
I picked up, fused with my lighter, and placed in the door. After 10 seconds,
A small
it
bomb.
finally exploded. I was free to go wherever I want.
Wherever you
I
want.
tried calling him to come back, but he still didn't answer. I filled up my car with my backup gas supply that I stored in the trunk. I waited for him to go back to my car with me. It was now 7 p.m. That's when I saw a tall figure coming from the door with a chainsaw.
With a chainsaw. Ah. This is like Resident Evil
I
5.
drove away as fast as I could. I managed to escape to my house.
Right down to the McDonald's.
Zach never came back at all. 2 days later, I received a newspaper with the most disturbing headline of all. It said, 2 boys went
The
to
most
a abandoned
disturbing.
McDonald's restaurant on the far side of Los Angeles. One managed to get away, with the other one nowhere in sight. Police are still trying to locate the man, but they never found proof. Then, they mysteriously disappeared by entering an oil-covered door. What was behind that door? How did they all went missing? I hope someone with this mystery anytime soon.
I hope so. Why was the door covered in oil? Did someone, like, spill it? It just splattered the door?
And who is the strange figure?
Oh, it's Medic. Medic with the chainsaw. Incredible. Fucking great. So this is another one that I've seen before, The Town with Fake People. It's another decent one.
I had just left my mother's house after visiting her on her birthday. She lives a state over from me, and while I don't visit as often as I should, I try to make it out there when I do get a chance. The drive to my mother's house was fine. Actually, I made pretty good time. Normally a 6-hour trip ended up taking me only 5 hours, and that was a plus. I never really cared much for driving.
I do.
Sure,
I love
some
driving.
people would argue that driving can be cathartic, driving peacefully on an open road. For me, however, I just find driving, especially long distances, to be monotonous. The less time I have to spend on the road, the better. I had left my mother's a little after 4 p.m., and for the first hour or so, I was met with an outrageous amount of congestion. I think I ended up sitting on the highway without moving for a total of 20 minutes straight.
That's nothing. What are you fucking
after,
talking about?
I was met with intermittent stops, which turned my monotonous trip into one of agony. The constant drive 2 feet, then brake was beginning to take a toll on my mind. After about an hour and a half, my GPS came to life informing me of a severe accident further down the road. Although I wasn't surprised, I was grateful to have something to blame on this bad traffic. As my car crept further down the road, my GPS with her overly chipper voice suggested that I take a detour. At that point, anything was better than sitting in this metaphorical hell. The exit was slowly approaching, and just trying to get to that ramp was torturous. Like
20-minute like
just out of your reach.
traffic isn't bad.
Eventually, I made it, and followed a few other cars making a quick exit as well. My GPS began to plot a new route home as I drove along the side road. Around 10 minutes later, I found myself driving alongside farmland for as far as the eye could see. While I was still a little frustrated at sitting in traffic, being able to drive consistently with a relaxing view did help calm me down a bit.
I thought you said you didn't like that.
It wasn't long after passing the third cornfield that I noticed that I was now alone on the road. I knew I had been following some cars when I pulled off the highway, but now there were no vehicles in front of or behind me. Even though that was odd, I put it out of my mind as I drove along. A few minutes later, my gas light appeared, and I sighed as this just seemed to add on to my many driving frustrations. I was pulling up to an intersection when I saw a sign for a town to my right. Running out of options, I made my way down the road. When I first pulled into town, I was surprised at how barren it was. There was a small gas station on the edge of town, a post office nearby, and a few residential houses further down the road. Putting the thought to the back of my mind once again, I pulled into the gas station as the sun was beginning to set. After getting out of my car, I saw that the pump had a "Please pay inside" sign taped to it. So with a huff, I walked over to the gas station itself. When I stepped through the doors, I locked eyes with the man behind the counter. He was an older gentleman with a white beard and a deep blue shirt. I gave him a nod as I walked over to the coolers to grab a water. He didn't return a nod, nor did he make any movements whatsoever. It was late, I thought, probably the end of his shift. I walked up to the counter and set my water down and asked him to put 20 on the pump outside. He just stared at me for a moment with a grin that seemed forced. After a full minute of silence, I asked him if he was all right. He simply nodded, pressed a few buttons on the register, then returned to his previously motionless demeanor. I asked him how much it was for the water, but the man didn't acknowledge me at all. Feeling too tired to deal with all this, I just set a 20 and a few ones on the counter and headed out to my car. As I was filling up my car, I noticed something even stranger than the gas station clerk.
What? God. Bottled
There was a
water
woman
costs so much.
standing in the middle of the street. I watched her until my tank was topped off, wondering what the hell she was doing.
Also, $20
After I
dollars
finished, I
for a
walked out
full
into
tank
the
of
street,
gas. I
taking care
remember.
to check for oncoming cars.
I remember back
As I
when that was the
approached her,
case.
I asked her if she was doing all right. She had the same odd grin as the clerk. I gently placed a hand on her shoulder, and she turned to me. I asked her if she knew that she was standing in the street. To which she replied, "Oh yes. We are happy here."
Oh yes.
She turned back away from me and continued staring down the road. At this point, I was ready to leave, and not just because my gas tank was full. I got in my car and carefully drove around the woman as she remained motionless. As I drove through the town, more and more things stuck out at me. The post office nearby had 4 people standing outside of its doors. Though I have a friend who works at the post office and they don't stay open very late at all. So either this was a unique post office or those people were waiting to get inside a closed building. I began to pass by
All
the
these
houses
people are
next.
weird.
One house had a man raking his front lawn. Normal enough, although there wasn't a single leaf anywhere to be found. Across the street from him was a house that had a small seesaw in the front yard, with 2 children playing on it. Except, they were both sitting on it evenly, staring at each other, not going up and down. I started to pick up my pace as I wanted more
Staring
and more to get
contest.
out of this strange town.
Seesaws are
But I
fun. Do
soon
you remember
regretted
playing
that
as those as a
decision
kid?
flashing
Like
lights filled my rearview
it's just,
mirror.
I don't know. There's something fun
I
about the
groaned
like
as I pulled over to the
going
side
up
of the
and down.
street. I watched through my mirror as the police officer stepped outside of his vehicle with a large grin plastered across his face. He slowly walked
God.
up to my window and stood there.
That walk.
I had been pulled over before, and one thing I learned is you wait for instructions from the officer. After a few minutes came and went, I rolled down the window and asked if there was a problem. With a relatively happy tone, the officer said, "You have the right to remain silent." I gave him a confused look and asked if I was under arrest. To which he spoke again. "It's illegal to drive a car, sir." If I wasn't already so creeped
Illegal
out
to
by the
drive
whole
a car.
town, I would have thought this was actually quite funny. I told him that I had a license and registration to drive this car. He then leaned down and almost stuck his head inside my car window before saying, "Have a nice day." He then stood back up, walked back to his car, then drove away with his lights still flashing. I was at a loss for words. Never in my life had I experienced anything like that before. Taking a moment to compose myself, I looked around and noticed that all the people were now staring at me. The man raking his leafless yard, the 2 children. Everyone was staring at my car now. I started to drive away when I was stopped by a sight that made me feel very uneasy. The woman from before. The one that was standing in the middle of the street near the gas station.
She can teleport.
Well, she was still in the street, but right in front of me now. I had been driving for quite a few minutes, so unless she was a marathon sprinter, there was no way she could have gotten in front of me. I slowly crept closer to her, and like before, carefully maneuvered my car around her. I still had my window down as I passed by slowly. When I was almost halfway, she turned to me. Her eyes were a dark shade of red, and she was no longer smiling. In a deep,
just
gravelly
looking.
voice that obviously didn't belong to her, she said,
Join us.
Ah, so scary.
I have never stomped my foot on the gas pedal that hard before in my life. My tires squealed down the road, and I didn't let off until I started to see the cornfields once again. After another half hour of driving, I found a road leading
It's
back
illegal
to
to
the
drive a
highway.
car, sir.
Once I was back on the highway, a tidal wave of relief washed over me. I didn't get off the highway until I was finally home. When I made it home, I couldn't stop thinking about all those weird people. How they all looked like people, but they didn't act like people. I know
What
this
could
must
it
sound
be?
confusing to all of you, but it's just as confusing to me. After I made it home, I took some time to retrace the route I took on the map, and saw that there was no town in that area. I'm not entirely sure who they are, or even what they are. But I think next year, I'll just send my mom a card for her birthday instead.
You don't want to go visit your mom? Like what? Like this guy just like it boils down to just he doesn't like driving. I think like dude, I'm pretty sure next year there might not be like an accident that would force you to take that side road. Like that was the whole reason. That was the whole reason you even went to that town in the first place. I'm pretty sure next year that won't happen. Oh yeah, this was the first one that I saw. This one was the first one that I saw last night that got me into the rabbit hole, and it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. It's 15 minutes long though, but it's pretty decent. It's by the same person.
I work at a gas station in rural Pennsylvania. It's a boring job, but it's pretty easy and it pays all right. A few weeks ago, this new guy started. I'll call him Jeremy.
Hey Jeremy.
Jeremy's weird. He's about 25 or 26, and he hardly speaks, but he's got the creepiest laugh I've ever heard. My boss and I have both noticed this, but it's never been a problem. There's not much that we can do about it. Customers have never complained about him, and he's always done his job fairly well. Up until a few weeks ago. Anyway. See, that's when things started going missing.
Up until
Employee
a few
theft
weeks
could be a
ago, I thought
problem
that's when he
at any
started
business that
working.
sells consumer goods, and there's only one person working at a time at this gas station. It's a pretty small place. About 2 weeks ago, my boss started noticing that we were short on motor oil. At first, it was a few containers at a time. Then, entire shelves and boxes from the back room. Pretty soon, entire shipments would be gone the day after we got them. And it would always be right after Jeremy's shifts.
What's he doing with
My
all the
boss
oil?
has checked the security camera tapes from every single night that he worked. But he could never catch him in the act. Jeremy would lock up at closing, then the motor oil would be gone the next day. My boss usually takes the tapes home with him to try to catch Jeremy stealing. But his daughter had a softball game last night, so he asked me to watch the tapes for him. He offered to pay me overtime, under the table. So obviously, I took the offer. There are 3 cameras, so he gave me 3 different tapes to check. I figured it would be a long night, but I'm trying to save up for vacation, so I really needed the money. I took the tapes home, popped them in an old VCR, and sat back.
I've never taken a
2 days ago,
vacation from work.
the last time he worked. Jeremy started at 4 p.m. Everything seemed pretty
Realistically
normal
hard
for
to
him.
do lately.
Counted up his drawer, switched off with the girl who had worked before him.
At the state
and
the
waited for a
United
customer.
States is in.
The first person who came in was Mrs. Templeton. The timestamp on the video read 4:03. It was regular. So she picked up her cigarettes and a newspaper and paid with a 20. Nothing unusual here. Next customer was some local guy named Ron. He drives a motorcycle, usually comes in every few days.
Oh,
He filled up his
Ron.
tank. Got a big bag of beef jerky, paid with his credit card, and left. Next was some guy with a cowboy hat. I'd never seen him before. We get plenty of strangers passing through. It's like any gas station. He had $40 worth of diesel fuel, paid with a $100 bill, went on his way. I sat back and I sighed. The only thing more boring than doing this job is watching someone else do it. My boss's offer was enough to keep me watching, though. So I left the tape on. Everything seemed pretty normal. I had a feeling that if Jeremy were stealing motor oil, he knew we were suspicious of him by now. I didn't expect him to be dumb enough to let us catch him on camera. Things stayed boring and routine until about 5 o'clock. At 5:03, Mrs. Templeton came back in. She must have forgot something, but she didn't. She bought the same pack of cigarettes as before, the same newspaper. She paid with another 20. That's odd, I thought, but then again, she's a little absent-minded. I thought Jeremy should have told her, since she already got her smokes, but it's not against the rules to sell somebody the same thing twice. And that's when Ron came in again. He bought another tank of gas for his motorcycle again. I later checked the outdoor camera because I thought maybe he had another car he wanted to fill up. And the same pack of beef jerky. He paid with his credit card again. No big deal. I figured this was just a weird coincidence.
Very weird
Mrs.
coincidence.
Templeton
Yeah,
is
you know.
forgetful. Ron probably owns more than one Harley. And that's when the guy in the cowboy hat came back in.
Ah,
I felt a
time
chill run down
loop.
my spine. Don't get diesel. Don't get diesel. I found myself whispering to my empty living room. but he did. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel, and he paid with another $100 bill. Every move he made was identical to his first visit, right down to the way that he scratched his nose before he walked out. Either the guy is rich and he owns a lot of trucks and just moved into town, or something really bizarre was happening. I kept watching. Every customer for the next hour was the same as before. Every single one. I was seriously freaked out, and then at 6:03, Mrs. Templeton walked back in. She bought her cigarettes and newspaper again and paid with the 20 again. I thought I was going to lose it. I only watched her another half hour before I started fast-forwarding through the rest. It was all the same. Every customer would come in at the exact same time, exactly 1 hour apart. Now, I know what you're thinking, okay? That sneaky Jeremy had messed with the tapes. He had run a loop of his first hour of business over and over. That wasn't the case. There are windows around the cash register area that the camera covers, and I watched the sunlight fade as the time ran on. Jeremy's routine didn't loop over. He swept, mopped, restocked, and did all his duties exactly how you would expect. But the same customers kept coming in. I was panicked at this point. Something was seriously wrong with what I was seeing, and I had no explanation for it. I skipped ahead, and when he locked up and walked out to his car, he hadn't stolen anything, but I kept watching, just to make sure. I fast-forwarded one last time.
Sneaky Jeremy, messing with
At
time.
exactly 12:03, out of nowhere, Jeremy's face popped up on camera. I don't mean he moved his head.
Look at that gmod
One
scary
second the store was
face.
empty. The next second, his face was all I could see. He wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking at me. I was
scary
sure of it.
face
I
is so
screamed and I fumbled for the remote, but by the time I grabbed it, he was gone. Just as soon as he had left. One frame he was there, next he wasn't. My hands were shaking like crazy, but I popped in another tape. The other indoor camera shows the back area, by the cash register, and I'd be able to see how he got up to put his face in the camera like that. I skipped ahead to 12:03, but there was nothing. I would have been able to see him standing on a chair or something on this tape, but he wasn't there. I didn't see him enter the store at all after he left. It's like he wasn't really there. He doesn't know the security code. There's no alarms that were triggered that night after he locked up.
What could it be?
What I did see, however, was that at 12:03, the motor oil vanished off the shelf. All of it. Same as Jeremy's face. 1 second it was there, the next it wasn't. I turned the tape off and went to bed. But I didn't get a wink of sleep. My body was exhausted right now, but my mind was racing. That tape was undoubtedly the creepiest, most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. I work in a few hours. My boss asked me to bring the tapes back in and let him know what I found. But really, what the hell am I going to say? Jeremy works the night shift tonight, directly after me. Plan is for my boss to come in just before I leave and confront him with me, and I'm supposed to be the one who caught him stealing. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I suppose I'll have to show my boss the tapes, but I don't want to watch them with him. I never want to see anything like that again. I can't get the image of Jeremy just smiling directly into the camera out of my mind. It was the creepiest look I've ever seen on another human being's face.
It was just a gmod scary face.
I'll try again to get some last-minute sleep before I have to go in and deal with this. I'll let you guys know what happened. Update. 2:49 p.m. Updating from my phone, so apologies.
I'm so sorry I haven't been talking much. I was trying to
the last
put a
of the
Laffy
tapes. I told
Taffy
him
in
what
my
to
mouth.
expect. You really can't prepare someone for something like that. I mean, he's scared.
Good evening.
Speechless. I
Hi,
still am,
everyone's
too.
beautiful.
Jeremy
Thank you for
was due
coming
come in
to
at
the stream.
4. Got a little over an hour to get our stuff together, but neither of us knows what to say to him.
We're watching gmod horror stuff.
Is he just like a messed up guy who likes to steal motor oil and scare the hell out of people, or is he something else?
Thank you for the follow.
Crazy, but does anyone think that he could have anything to do with the time loop? My boss says he never noticed anything like that in the other tapes. The way that he popped up in this one made me think that he knew I would be watching, like he wanted me to see what he could do, like he was showing off or something. The way he smiled into the camera was like a little kid showing
Seems
the
so
sand
pure.
castle he just built or something. I don't know.
Thank you.
Probably sound crazy. I sure feel that part. I gotta talk to my boss some more. We have to calm ourselves down and figure out how to handle this. I'll update again tonight, but I have a really bad feeling about how this is going to play out.
I wonder how it's going to play out. I mean, I know because I've already seen the video.
4:33 p.m. There's no sign of Jeremy. I tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update. 5:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police.
Oh no!
Update. 6:33 p.m.
Time
No
loop.
sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update. 7:33 p.m.
Time loop. Time
No
loop.
sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the
Just
police.
give you all the head pets in the world. Yeah, I used to have like a. I'm pretty sure I used to have a head pet channel.
No sign of
Point
Jeremy.
redeem.
Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected.
Not
We're
anymore.
calling the police.
Or maybe I
Update.
never did. I don't know.
10:58 p.m.
He's out of the time loop.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just got home and I saw my previous updates. Things make less sense now than ever. Okay, here's what I can tell you. Okay, I went to work. Jeremy never showed up. My boss and I decided to call the police, as you're well aware. Okay, when I picked up the phone to call though, the sun went out. I'm not making that up. Okay, that's what I thought happened. Apparently, I blacked out for exactly 5 hours because when I looked at the clock, it was 9:33. I think I got stuck in Jeremy's time loop, and then I snapped out of it at the exact point I blacked out. If that makes any sense, but that's where things got really weird. Okay, my boss was right next to me when I blacked out, ready to corroborate my story to the cops. And when I came to, the phone was in my hand, but it was dead, not even dial tone.
Little
My boss
animation
was
of your
still
character, so
right
cute.
there,
Thank
but
you.
he wasn't
It was
moving.
drawn by
He was standing up, but he was frozen.
a
And I looked at the clock, and it wasn't moving. The
I
second
need
hand was
to-
stuck on the 12. It was 9:33 exactly.
Let me see
The
if I
clock
can
on the
find
counter, the computer screen
the
wasn't moving
Twitter.
either. My phone was frozen. There was even a customer at the
Okay.
register waiting for my boss to get him cigarettes, and that would have been his 5th pack of the day. So I got the hell out of there. I didn't lock up. I didn't turn the lights out, and I'm sorry, guys. I didn't grab the security tapes to upload to the internet. Believe me, that was the last thing that was on my mind.
That should
gas
be
station
the person
is
who
on a
drew
major
it.
highway, and cars are parked all along, except they weren't parked. Okay, they were frozen. The people inside were sitting still as wax statues. I got in my car, I prayed that it would start, and thankfully it did. And about halfway home, time started up again. The static from the radio turned into music like it was supposed to be. And from what I could tell by listening to the host talk in between songs, no one noticed that the time was frozen or whatever had happened. I was the only one. I'm sure that Jeremy noticed as well. I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. And I'm
He can
hiding in my room.
stop
I'm
time.
calling the police again in the morning. I don't know if I ever got through them before, but if I did, whether they took me seriously or not, I'm scared for my life at this point. I'll update tomorrow if I can. Final update, 10:33 a.m. So I finally fell asleep last night around 4. I have no idea how I did it. I guess exhaustion finally got the best of me. This morning I woke up to my phone ringing. It was my boss. He'd been calling me since about 6. He woke up when time turned
It says
back on.
7:20
and
on the
immediately
phone.
called the cops. They came by to see what was wrong. He told them everything. The police around here were
7:12
all
actually.
small-time guys. They were more concerned with the missing motor oil than anything. My boss figured that he'd take it. You know, as long as he had their attention. They decided to go look for Jeremy. So we keep all our employee applications on file. And since Jeremy just started working here, his was easy
And I
to
got a
find.
banana Laffy
They
Taffy
checked the
now.
address on it and they headed
This
over
probably
to
isn't
the
that good. I usually don't like banana flavored candy. It usually tastes bad. Not like
address
actual
Jeremy
banana.
listed on his application was an empty lot. Or at least it is now. And there used to be a house there, but it burned down back in 1993.
You wouldn't
Being a
have
small
noticed
town, almost
that.
everyone remembers that fire. Family of 4 used to live there way back when. Rumor has it that they had an
Oh yeah,
estranged
this.
son
I,
and they never really
I
talked
didn't
about
even
it.
put it in my mouth. I just like
Can't say
licked
for
it
sure
and
if
it
that's
tastes
true.
really bad.
What I can say is true is that after
Oh,
an
banana
insurance
candy sucks.
investigation, the fire was ruled as arson. The entire house was soaked in oil and torched with a Molotov cocktail. The entire family was sleeping when it happened. None of them survived. They never caught the guy who did it. Rumor has it that when they tried to contact the estranged son, no one could find him. Anyway, my boss called and told me this, and I freaked out, and he asked me to come to the gas station. So, what are you, crazy? I said, but he assured me that the cops were there with him. And then he dropped a bomb.
Bomb.
FBI were also in town. and They were
FBI.
going to talk to me one way or another, so I might as well come in. So it was about 7:15, and I wanted to go back to bed, so I figured I wouldn't be able to sleep much more anyway. So I went down. 4 men in suits greeted me, told me to have a seat. We went over everything 2 or 3 times until they got all the details down. I told them about Jeremy, the security tapes last night at work, everything. And finally, after finishing, one of the agents says, "Oh, Christ, we've got another one on our hands." Then they made me sign a bunch of papers saying I wouldn't tell anybody about what happened. So I can't say much more. I might be breaking the law just by posting this.
You are breaking the law just by posting this. What are you
So I'm
talking
on
about? You shouldn't be posting this.
I'm not sure what to do with myself.
You're
The
gonna go to
agent's words,
jail.
when I told him the story, are going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Anyway, I've got to go. I've got some errands to run today, and then I have to go into work to pick up some tapes. My boss and I think this new guy, Jeremy, he's a complete creep. He's stealing motor oil, and I have to watch the security footage to see if I can catch him doing it. I have better things to do, but my boss is paying me overtime under the table. I'm trying to save up for vacation, so I could really use the money. It should be pretty simple. Oil always goes missing right after his shifts. I figure I'll just watch the tapes, catch him in the act, and that'll be that.
Dun dun dun. That one's actually a fairly decent one. Also, another fairly decent one is this bathroom one. He can't get out of his bathroom.
I can't leave my bathroom. About 30 minutes ago, I got out of the shower and dried off. I put on my clothes, opened the door, and walked out, only to find myself back inside my bathroom, staring at the now closed door. I stopped and tried to rationalize what had just happened to me. I convinced myself somehow that I had simply imagined that I had opened the door and stepped out. So I tried again. I pushed the door handle down, opened it, stepped out, and yet again I found myself inside my bathroom, standing in front of a closed door. This has happened every single time I've tried to leave. I keep my phone with me in the bathroom when I'm showering. I live alone, so I like to keep it in there just in case. The very first thing I did was call my parents. My dad didn't pick up, but my mother did. I tried to explain the situation to her, but she couldn't seem to understand how I was trapped inside my bathroom if the door could open. She seemed convinced that I must mean my bathroom door's lock was broken and I was trapped inside. Regardless, she said that she would be over as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's probably kind of hard
She
to
only lives a
explain.
15-minute
Like, I'm
drive
stepping
away,
out of the bathroom, but I'm
so
in the
she
bathroom.
should be here at any moment. I'm sitting, leaning against my bathtub, looking upon my open bathroom door into my hallway. I opened it this time, but I didn't try to step out. Everything on the other side of the door looks normal. My bedroom door is closed just as I left it. The stairs leading down to the other hallway and the front door. Everything's normal. The door is now shut. I don't have any recollection of how it shut, when it shut, only that it must have happened in the last few seconds after I wrote that last paragraph. I just read and reread that paragraph. It's proof that I'm not going crazy and just imagining this. My mom just texted me.
How do you
to
mean
ask
that's
if I'm in
proof?
the
That
house.
isn't proof.
I said yes, of course I am. I'm still in the bathroom. That's the whole reason I called you here. This is what she sent back. Why aren't you saying anything? She said. What do you mean? I replied. Are you even in there? She said. Yes, I'm still here. Where are you? I'm standing outside the bathroom door. I've been calling your name. I don't understand. I can't hear anything through the door. I'm going to open it. I can see my landing, my stairs, my front door, but no mom. I tried to walk out, but it was fruitless. I'm now back staring at the closed bathroom door again. My mom tried the handle of the door from her side, but apparently it won't open. She found some tools to unscrew the lock. She says she's doing it now, but I still can't hear anything. I can't even see the handle moving. Okay, Mom just texted me to say that the lock is taken out, but the door still won't open on her side. She looked through the circular hole in the door where the lock was, but only saw my
Welcome back,
bathroom
Ari.
empty.
This person's trapped in their
There's
bathroom.
no hole on my side of the door. The handle and lock are still intact. I have no idea what's happening, or how I can get out. After much convincing my mom that I am in fact in here, She said that she's calling someone to possibly knock the door down. I'm worried, though. I'm worried that once they do, they will find an empty bathroom and I will yet still be here, trapped inside. I forgot to bring my charger in here. My phone will die at some point. I'm already on 24%. When it runs out, I might lose my only point of contact with the rest of the world. I don't know what to do. Mom left to go get help. I'm sitting down wondering what I could do. I tried to break the door down myself. I knew it wouldn't work, but I had to try. I remember
That
reading
kick animation
once
was
online that
smooth.
you shouldn't use your shoulder. You should try to kick the door by the lock because it's the weakest point. It still didn't work. I'm not sure any part of this door has a weak point now. My next choice was to try the bathroom window. It's small, and I'm not sure if I'd actually be able to fit out of it. Scratch that. The window won't open either. There are locks on the window in my house. You can lock them with a little key, but I never received any when I moved in, so I've never been able to lock them. But they're locked now. The window also has one of those white plastic cheap blinds covering it. I ended up tearing it down. It pulled some of
This
the
guy's
plaster down
good at
with it,
SFM animation.
but now
what
I
the
can
fuck?
get at the window better. It's directly above the toilet, so now I'm standing on top of the lid, yanking at the window handle. But it won't budge. Wait! It opened! I didn't notice how dark it was outside. It shouldn't be this dark. It's only the afternoon. I looked around, desperately trying to see anyone. There's no one around. Everything looks kind of muted. I can't describe it, nor can I describe the deep-seated feeling of dread and wrongness as I look out into my neighborhood. My instincts are telling me not to, but I stuck my head out to look down to where I could possibly drop out to.
Right.
The window is closed. I never felt myself move, but my window is now closed, in front of me. Even the plastic blind is back in place. I'm sitting on the floor now, as far away from the window and door as I can get. I'm starting to feel sick. Mom came back, along with her work friend. He helped her unscrew the hinges and remove the door, but I'm not in there. They can't see me. My mom sent me a photo of her inside the bathroom. It was empty. She thinks that this has just been a joke and is refusing to reply to my texts or answer my calls. I'm on 14% battery now. I don't know if I will ever get to leave. This might be my only chance to say goodbye to my mother, and she won't answer her phone. I've ripped down the shower curtain, and yet I'm staring at it right now, still hanging up, hanging over the side of my bath. I looked out the window again. I think I heard a rumbling. A low, quiet rumbling. I haven't touched the window since. My phone is now on 2%.
No.
If I
He's
get
gonna be
out,
trapped here forever.
I will try to update
in the
this
bathroom.
post.
Imagine being trapped
If
in your
you don't see
bathroom.
an update, then just assume I'm still in here. And I'm still trapped.
So I do know that the person that wrote this original creepypasta really committed to the bit, because the instant that they did that last post where it was like, if I don't update, presume I'm still trapped in here. I know that after they did that last post, the entire account just like didn't post anything ever again. they were really committing to the bit. But like, that's like awful. Like, because it's not just that he's like trapped in there and everything. It's also the fact that like he's trapped in there and everything resets, meaning that presumably he also resets, which means that he couldn't even like starve or anything. So he might just be trapped in there for literally all of eternity. It's awful. Those kinds of things are like, when you think about it, they really get to me. What other animations did this person do? Because they're really good. They did the strange tape. Oh right, emergency alerts never turn around. Were there others? It's so funny seeing like just the fact that it's a gmod. Wow, yeah, wow, that one came out 2 weeks ago. The security tape footage one. This guy's still doing gmod stuff. Wild. Never turn around.
I live in an apartment building in a modestly big city.
Modest.
I live on the top floor of a 5-story building, as most of the other ones around here are. My apartment is a 1-bedroom with a fairly large living room with big windows out towards the street and the opposing building. That building has a small parking lot up front, so it's not directly across from mine, which I kinda like because of the privacy. Being a night owl, I like to sit up late with my laptop, and sometimes I peek out the window at the building across, looking for lit windows, wondering if anyone else out there is doing the graveyard shift. Last night, I wish that I hadn't. I usually sit with my laptop facing the window. For the last couple of nights I had, in the corner of my eye, been seeing a sparsely lit window in the building across, and in it, some sort of movement. Last night my curiousness got the best of me, so I put my computer down and went over to the window to check it out. And surely enough, you could see someone waving. But just barely. The window was dimly lit, but you could definitely see some movement. I thought about it for a second and went to get a pair of binoculars, and after some searching I found a pair and went back to the window and put them to my eyes. I located the window and got a better look at what was in it. It appeared to be a person lit up by a candle. I couldn't make out the person's face, but he was waving. At me, apparently, because after I had locked onto him with the binoculars, he stopped his waving for a second and then pointed at me. I got a chill down my spine. This was fucking creepy. He pointed at me and then made a circling motion with his fingers. He kept doing this over and over until I realized he was signaling for me to turn around. I reacted out of instinct and quickly turned around as if I really were expecting something to be lurking behind me.
This person is also good at reading the script.
Obviously. So I just chuckled to
Like
myself.
the
and
way
turned
that
back
he's
to the
like
window with
saying
my
the
binoculars,
lines.
only to find the window empty. Except for the candle. Slowly fading out.
He's giving like really good pauses and shit.
I jumped back and dropped the binoculars on the floor. The loud noise of the impact spooked me even more.
Spooky.
What the fuck? I thought to myself as I went back to my computer. I put on some music to calm me down and surfed around a bit more until I looked at the time and realized that it was about to get light out. I put my computer down and made my way through a small hallway that led to my bedroom. I didn't have any lights on, but as I approached the bedroom, I noticed a flickering underneath the door. That body froze. Even if I did forget to turn off the bathroom light, a light bulb should not produce that kind of lighting. I slowly walked up to the door, took a deep breath, and lightly pushed the door open. I stepped inside, and to my horror, I found a candle sitting on the sink, revealing a message scribed on the mirror. Never turn around.
But you're the one who told him to turn around. Fake. Yeah, this person's like good at this. What the fuck? Not having a bathroom, so you trick someone into putting their guard down to break into their apartment and use theirs. uh The emergency alert system's kind of boring. I already watched it before. I watched most of these that we've seen now. But I think we're running out of content. Gmod horror. Well, Gmod SFM horror, because it might just come up with like horror custom maps and stuff. If I just do Gmod horror. I heard it too.
A girl heard her mom yell her name from downstairs.
This narrator's so fucking
so she
quiet.
got up and started to head down.
Like it's too
As she
bassy.
got to the stairs, her mom pulled her into her room and said,
I heard it too.
What? Oh, it's so scary.
Stay in here and don't make a sound.
Is that a necromorph? No, that's not a necromorph. That's a regenerator. No, it's not a regenerator. It's one of them. It's one of the molded from RE7, I think. To be fair, all of those Resident Evil monsters look the same. Also, this person took a lot of liberties with this creepypasta because, one, I don't think the creepypasta ever shows an actual monster, and two, after the mom says I heard it too, I think the creepypasta just ends. This person's taking like a lot of liberties with it. Hello. She slapped her. She slapped her. I can't believe she slapped the monster. Incredible. And then the low pixel. Oh my god, that was awful. Oh, or is it based off of this? Was the creepypasta based off of this short horror story, or did someone just copy the creepypasta and make it into like a film? Because that's great, you know, you don't have to do writing for your film. All these are starting to get into like not Gmod horror. The shadow.
19-year-old single child Damian Andrews would drive directly from campus after his last class on Friday to his job at a gas station for 6 hours, and after his shift was done, he'd go back to his parents' house. Usually his parents weren't home on weekend nights, as they were the ones who were more often out
Sniper going back to his parents' house.
Damian pulled into the empty driveway, and as expected, everything was dark in the house. He needed to put his bike that was still in his trunk back into the shed in the backyard, so he removed the bike from the trunk of his truck and rode it down the pavement past the fence and to the shed. When he shut the shed door, he noticed the bathroom light upstairs in the house was on now. He didn't remember noticing the bathroom light being on when he passed the side of the house, so he assumed that maybe one of his parents stayed home for the night. Damian entered the house through the back door, and as he opened his mouth ready to call for one of his parents, something deep down told him not to. Damian went up the half flight of stairs from his den to the midsection of the house. He looked up the short stairway to the upstairs and saw a light creeping into the hallway through the closed bathroom door. So somebody was in there. He went upstairs calling out Mom and Dad. There were no responses, but he was in very close range of the bathroom now, which made it odd. He approached the bathroom door, again calling out Mom and Dad. No response. Damian figured maybe his mom was in the bathtub with earbuds in or something. The
That
door
sounds kind
was
of
locked,
dangerous.
so one of them had to be in there.
Dads are kind of
When the
gross.
phone rang,
if
he
you
went
think about
downstairs to answer it to find out it was his
Like
dad
you're just
calling, checking
sitting
in to make sure Damien made
in
it
like
home
the
okay.
grossness.
His dad sounded drunk as usual per Friday
Like a
nights,
bath might be
so
fine
Damien
if you're
questioned
like
him as to
already
why he left
clean.
Mom at home.
If
as
you're
he
not
walked back
already
upstairs
clean,
to
then
the
it's kind of
bathroom
gross.
door. His dad seemed confused. Then he noticed at the bottom of the door, through the opening, 2 shadow outlines of feet standing by the door.
Ah.
Literally facing the door right on top of it. Then Damien's dad dropped a bomb and told him that his mother was right beside him at the table.
Oh.
He did the only logical thing he could
face.
do. He ran outside, hung up on his dad, and called the police. When Damien looked up to the bathroom window,
Why'd you hang up
he
on
saw
your
the
dad?
light turn off. 10 minutes of hiding in the bushes later, he heard the police out front, who in the end found nobody in the house.
They found bearded pyro. The man in the pond.
My friends, who I'll refer to as S and J, came along with me on a little camping trip near Blue Mountain National Park. We set up camp near a small pond, just because it seemed like the coolest place to chill. The point of this whole trip was mainly just to get out, drink a bunch of beers with
That's Eric
friends,
from the
and
other
chill.
story. Oh, it's Jimmy.
I cracked open my second Budweiser, laughing it up with S and J, talking about some of our other friends, with music playing in the background.
They brought a
overall
full
just
amp.
having a good time.
They brought a fucking amp.
Then, however, I saw S reach over for the speaker and turn it down all the way, and then shushed us and pointed out to the pond. S whispered, "Do you guys see that?" Jay and I looked out to the pond. The campfire had
There's
a glow
nothing there.
that partially reflected on the pond water, but even yet, I couldn't see what he was pointing at. S whispered, "There's something in the water." I went into the tent to get the flashlight from my bag. When I came out, S said don't, but I turned it on anyway and aimed it at the pond. The light didn't reveal anything or anyone, but we did all hear the sound of water being pushed, as if someone or something were walking in it.
Being pushed?
I turned out the light just
That's
because
like
I was freaked
that's the
out and looked at
weirdest
my two
way to
friends,
describe
who were
like
both wearing cringing faces.
cringing
I told us
faces.
to shut off the speakers completely.
They were
now.
cringing.
We all sat in our chairs, not really saying much anymore, just listening to the surroundings. About an hour passed, and within that time, nothing happened.
Chainsaw. You don't
We
want a
grew more
chainsaw just
comfortable
sitting
again,
around.
And things went back to normal. Eventually, I went to my tent, and S and J went to the tent that they
Yeah,
were
the
sharing,
man in the
and we all
pond
went to
posted
sleep.
cringe.
Now that I was alone with my thoughts, however, I started thinking of that thing that S said was in the water. He never actually described what it looked like, if it was an animal or a person.
Why would you
My
think a
sense of
person?
hearing was heightened as I was in a state of alert, and
I would
because of
think an
that,
animal.
I heard something from the woods. I sat up, since that always seems to help with concentration. I needed to hear one more sound before I could confirm something wasn't right. There was the sound again, much closer now, and I was able to confirm it was a foot hitting the ground. Whether it was a person's foot or an animal's foot was still unclear, however.
I love the walk
I heard
cycle.
another footstep, this time much closer.
They're like creeping up on each
Someone
other.
or something was
There's
sneaking
like 2
around our
people just
campsite.
creeping up on each other.
There was one final footstep. It was really close to the tent. I started texting S, but I was only able to type out the words, "There's something," before the gut-wrenching, blood-curdling scream pierced through the walls of the tent. I couldn't tell if it was the scream of a man or a woman. It's hard to explain, but it was deep enough where it could be a man, but not so deep to the point that it couldn't be a woman.
Oh my god,
The
shut
scream
up.
lasted about 5 seconds. Then there was silence.
Just
I
say
didn't
a
know if I should get out,
monster's
call for
scream.
my friends, or stay
Like-
silent. I texted S, "Dude, we have to run." He responded, "What was that?"
It was
I didn't
cringe.
answer right away. Instead, I tried to think of what we could do. But pretty soon,
We need to
Hess
post about
texted
this on
me
the
again,
internet.
saying the coast is clear, run for the car. I grabbed the keys from my bag, opened the zipper to the tent, and sprinted to the car, which luckily was only about 30 seconds away.
I love the run cycle.
We stayed in the car all night and went back the next morning for our stuff, which luckily was all still there. Still have no idea who, or even dare I say what that thing was at our campsite that night. Just happy we got out okay.
The man in the pond was so upset that they were cringing at him that he walked up to their tents and screamed. They're genuine, like, actual for real, like, camp horror stories that like actually happened that are fucking scary. Like, I remember there was one that was real that was like this, I'm pretty sure it was like a man and his son were camping one time, and they were just like around the fire, and they like heard a noise like in the tree line, so the dad like shined a flashlight, and there was just like a woman just standing there, and she didn't even really acknowledge that he was like shining a flashlight on her, and she was just like, and he was just like, can I help you? And then she just like looked at him and then like walked away. And then later on in the night, he like woke up to noise in the campsite, so he like got out, shined a flashlight, and she was just like in the campsite just like picking through their trash and shit. It's fucking like like that, like those, like that kind of stuff that's like actual real life things where like you can just be camping and people can just be walking around your campsite. Like there's nothing stopping people from just like walking around your tents and stuff. It's scary. Like you don't know what they're gonna do to you. People are scary. like if I go camping, I don't like to camp in tents. I like camping, but only in like a trailer, only in like a camper. The ones that are like modernized with like with like a microwave and shit. That's how I like to camp. I don't really like the sleeping in like a camper or a tent part of camping, but I do like every other part of camping where you're like out in nature and like you spend the day like going out to like a lake or something, and then you like tell campfire stories by a campfire. Those are those are the parts of camping that I like, but it's the sleeping part that I don't like for sure. Ooh, lifelike. I'm the same guy. This one's like 14 minutes long. Jeez.
The following events are derived from multiple sources: first-hand accounts, eyewitness statements, police records, physical evidence, and journals pieced together by investigative experts. Due to the nature of the incidents, the resulting crimes, and the psychological condition of the survivors, be assured that anything you hear that borders on the supernatural has been taken into account with the utmost consideration.
Okay, I feel like
Warning.
I feel like they're trying to make me sign something. This video may disturb you.
Mid-June 2016. James Young, Emily Ames, Marcus Drake, and Trisha George drove down to the old firehouse just outside the city limits of their main home. James's aunt gave the group permission to check out the building. Since her husband passed away, the firehouse had been in her possession, which she rented out to a family for storage.
This is the future.
But after a few decades of prompt
Elon
payment,
Musk wants.
The money suddenly stopped. In fact, all word from the family ceased. That was almost 3 years ago now, and everything in storage remained untouched. So, when James mentioned he was looking for props for a university film project about a struggling private detective, she told him to go right ahead and take a look. As far as she was concerned, the firehouse and everything in it was hers. Now, his. The building was run down, yet the foundations were stable enough to keep the roof from caving in. The further in the four friends ventured, the more assorted the objects became.
Aside from like the
At first,
3 boards.
cabinets and racks of clothes lined the walls. Upstairs, light fixtures, lawn ornaments, and various clocks and knickknacks were stacked. Curiosity drew them to the basement, where they found the most alien artifacts yet. Statues and trophies, pottery and scrolls filled with strange writing, jewelry, paintings, even some kind of crypt.
Unroll it and you'll be able to
Whilst
cast a
inspecting the curious
fireball.
items, all were startled by the cry of Marcus in the far corner. he had discovered a dusty old mannequin. Or so he thought.
Why is there like a cave?
Upon further
Why are they in a
investigation,
cave?
it appeared to be some kind of life-size doll. But even more unusual than that, its face was made of china.
I think that's what a mannequin
the expression
is.
of mania.
What do it
chipped
seems
and
to have
broken
been a
down its
mannequin.
side.
On closer inspection, it seems to be a
But the rest of
life-size
its
doll.
limbs
What the
were
fuck are
made
you
of
talking
differing
about?
materials
That's what a
and
mannequin
design.
is.
There were 3 others behind the shawl. One leaning against the wall with an ambivalent expression. A third wedged tightly in the corner, concealing its terror-filled
Someone's
demeanor.
engineer.
And the last face down on the floor with a face of rage,
With the
staring
face
deep
of
into the
rage?
depths of the earth.
What? What are you talking about? How can
Each
you?
one
He was
differed
face
from
down.
the other in terms of design,
What are you
except of
talking
course
about?
for the china faces. It was clear as to why Marcus screamed in fright. The dolls were quite unnerving, and to have any one fall on you would have made anyone jump. James, Emily, and Trisha agreed that they would be perfect additions to the Halloween bash they were also planning on campus, even if they wouldn't fit in with the tone of the film. They were perfectly freaky to pass up. Marcus agreed, under protest, as well as under the condition
Marcus.
they be kept at James's house. Since there wasn't enough room at James's, he only kept one. Trisha
one.
also agreed to keep one.
They kept...
Marcus, reluctantly, kept 2 in his basement.
I thought they were all going to keep one.
They spent the next 2 days filming scenes of their short film in the Forest Reserve, several hours' drive from home. The parents of all students as well were on holidays of their own. However, reports from neighbors of each stated that they were unaware they had departed, as signs of life were glimpsed throughout the day. At the Young residence, witnesses reported brief sightings of someone moving past the windows, and one neighbor felt eyes staring at them as they jogged by.
Left for
The
dead.
neighbors of Trisha George would later report loud moaning and wailing coming from the bedroom, and assumed she was in emotional turmoil.
I'm sorry?
Yet, upon attempting to make contact with Trisha, the noises would stop.
Why are you
and no one would
reporting that?
answer.
I feel like that.
Finally,
I feel
in
like
the
you
late
should
hours
leave
of the
her
evening,
to her own
one neighbor of Marcus
moaning
Drake
and groaning
awoke to the
bedroom
sound of
business.
loud banging and yelling coming from his neighbor's house, and assumed the young man was watching television or playing video games loudly. The noises slowly died down over the course of several hours, and the neighbor went back to sleep, disgruntled at the police for not responding to his 911 call. When the group arrived back into town, however, they did find it strange that no one commented on their absence. The evening of Saturday the 18th, they gathered at Marcus's to wind down after a busy few days. They'd been somewhat productive and covered a lot
Dude,
of the
your living
shots
room's
required
huge.
for their outdoor scenes. They relaxed over making future plans to film, with Marcus making jokes in character, and James and Emily remarking to themselves that they might spend an extra night out alone to enjoy the sanctuary the woods offered. After a few hours, the 4 acquired more alcohol and sent Marcus, as host, to fetch more from the
They do
downstairs
nothing but
fridge.
drink.
Upon returning, he remarked on the strange scrapings he'd seen on the door. When asked if he'd been robbed and if anything was missing from the house, Marcus shook his head and added that the marks had been made from inside the basement. Over the course of the next week, strange and unusual events surrounding the friends slowly began to mount, building to a head. The details are scattered, mostly from word of mouth between several of the victims to the survivors of the horrors to come. Here is what we know. The 4 students spent their time separated, relaxing before their next big outing. A week or 2 of saving and gathering supplies was all they required. James and Emily were spending more and more time at his house. Their relationship was becoming more serious, and the pair were celebrating their growing love in the usual way young adults do.
Oh, I see.
And when Emily left for work or returned to her house, James felt especially alone. But now, that loneliness had taken on a new element. Isolation. It was no longer sadness at her absence, but the unshakable, frightening feeling that a presence now watched his every move. He was always on edge, and it was easy to pinpoint why. One morning, after Emily left, James had retired to his room to watch a movie. Upon entering, he saw that the closet door was open, and the doll had toppled out. This wasn't particularly
He shoved it in a
unusual,
closet.
until he noticed that it was wearing one of Emily's sweaters. He shook off the silly notion in his mind, removed the item of clothing, and propped Mania, as they called it, back into the closet.
They called it Mania?
But these encounters weren't to end. and they only escalated from here.
Why the
Sometimes,
fuck did they call it mania?
James would catch
That's
it
wild.
sitting at his work desk. Other times, he would wake up at night to what he believed was heavy breathing. What concerned him most was how Mania would be wearing an item of Emily's clothing almost every time, prompting him to confront her. She refused all accusations due to the lack of evidence of her involvement. Even so,
Why is he getting
James
angry
was
at
left
her?
uneasy, and it certainly took a toll on their relationship.
What
On
are
the
you
afternoon
talking
of the
about?
24th of
What?
June,
That
James and Marcus
the
met
mannequin
up
was
at Marcus's
wearing
home.
the clothes?
While there,
It
James
took a toll in
mentioned the
their
strange
relationship?
events at his house surrounding the doll they had brought back from the firehouse. The stress of feeling like he was being watched, the clothes, the breathing, it all came pouring out. And when he was done, James expected to be met with apprehension and criticism from his friend. But that never came. Marcus, instead, regarded his friend with an air of understanding. And that scared him more. It was then that Marcus began recounting his own horrific ordeals during the course of the week. Marcus, it appeared, hadn't slept for days, because every night he would hear noises from inside the basement. He would stand at the top of the staircase and stare down, a baseball bat in hand, waiting for something to break the door down. He dared not enter. He was far too afraid for that. During the day, Marcus felt like he could rest. But then he would hear more noises, this time from within the house itself. He would search every room, only to discover missing items, pens, picture frames, cutlery.
These
This
mannequins
continued
are
for a day or
fast.
two, until he started finding tiny figures hidden around the house.
They made little
Small,
babies.
doll-like creatures made from the stolen materials.
They're babies.
To discover the identity of who had been
What are
doing
you
this,
talking about, creatures?
Marcus decided he would wait until the next encounter.
Creatures, that's so funny.
He found his opportunity. He heard a clatter from the kitchen and ran to investigate. Marcus caught a glimpse of a shadow fleeing through the rooms and pursued it until he arrived at the basement. Tentatively, Marcus
mean the
approached
cave?
the door and found it unlocked. Whoever had done this did it from the inside. Marcus entered the basement,
The cave.
and searched around.
The Minecraft dirt house.
The light wasn't working, so he left the door propped open to let some light in. The room was silent and still, the air stale, and yet he sensed a presence. Upon deciding to leave,
You cannot
Marcus
sleep when
fell
monsters are
over onto
nearby.
the floor. Dazed, it took him a moment to regain his senses, but in that time, he could swear he heard two things. One was footsteps. The second, and more disturbing sound, was a loud, guttural yell of anger.
Oh.
In the seconds it took Marcus to turn around, he heard a crash and saw the two dolls, Rage and Ambivalence, frozen on the floor in a deadlock. Marcus fled and barricaded the basement door with more than just a lock. Sure enough, when James investigated, planks of wood were nailed to the door. It was clear what they needed to do. Marcus went to the garage and grabbed a canister of kerosene, returning to James, who had just finished unbarricading the door. They were going to find the dolls and burn them. They entered cautiously, keeping their eyes glued to the darkness surrounding them. The torch was only so good at conjuring light, dark shapes looming from the blackness.
Conjuring light.
Came
Like,
to the
it's bad
rack
enough that you
that
called it a
used to store
torch.
the costumes. I noticed that one of the hangers was empty. It was Marcus's detective clothes.
Detective clothes.
A creaking to their side drew their attention, and there, sitting on a stool, wearing the trench coat and hat, was the doll of Ambivalence, staring at them. Ever so slowly,
The doll of Scout.
it raised its arm and gestured the boys to remain quiet. But Marcus was shaking so much that he dropped the canister of kerosene, echoing loudly throughout the basement. That's when they heard the howl. Suddenly, the pair were knocked to the floor, causing James to drop his torch. It shattered nearby the pooling kerosene and ignited it. Rage towered before them, and metallically snarled like a wild animal.
Metallically
leapt at them,
snarled.
but was grabbed by its brother. Ambivalence waved them away, and both Marcus and James ascended the stairs into the house. Before the two could catch their breath, Ambivalence was launched through the doorway and crashed into the living room. Rage tore past them, flames dancing on its body, and fought with its brother. James and Marcus fled the house and watched as it went up in flames. Police recovered James and Trisha from the scene and took them in for questioning. Their statements were taken, and they were to be charged with 2 counts of murder, given the incredulity of their story. Agents from our institute took over the investigation, suppressed it, and removed all
they were
evidence
charged
of the
with
event
murder?
having taken place.
What?
James and Trisha gave their final statements on the matter before being humanely euthanized.
What?
The parents of all 4 students were told their children died in a fatal car accident that night.
Why were they...
There have been small traces as to the whereabouts of the doll-like creatures cropping up across America.
Why were they
Resources are, however,
killed?
stretched thin enough amongst our facilities to properly investigate them.
Why?
Given long enough, however, it is feared one, if not all, could properly infiltrate its way into society and become almost indistinguishable from a regular person.
But I thought they were like...
Caution is advised.
I thought they were very obviously dolls.
They know of us now, and they may kill when threatened by
What are you
our
talking
presence.
about? They...
Designated
How?
close.
How would they blend in? They're dolls.
These proceedings are closed.
They obviously can't change their facial expressions. What? I feel like there were like several things at the end that they just said, and there was no reason for them to have said, like they like we missed story beats or something. Lights out. Oh, it's the Lights Out movie. Or it was like a short film that was like made into a movie. And the movie was bad, apparently. This is very... I love that this isn't... Yeah. Let's watch the full thing and then I'll show you what the actual one looks like. It's so funny that this is like gmod SFM. That's so funny. You just go to bed. You go to bed after you see that. That's what you do. It's running. Ah. What is that? Is that supposed to be a lamp? What is that? That's so funny. Where's the actual one? Is it even in the... Hello? Yeah, it's not even in the recommended. That's so funny. Oh my god. SFM Paranormal Activity. Wait, how long is this? Oh, it's only 4 minutes? Oh, is it like of the trailer? Is it like of the trailer for Paranormal Activity? That's so grainy. Nice upscaled JPEG. Dude, your room is awful. I remember when I first saw Paranormal Activity, it did scare me when I was a kid. The others didn't. The others were goofy. Dude, use different text next time. It's so hard to read when it's on top of the monitor. My God, I cannot sleep if my bedroom door is open. I just cannot. I did when I was young, but it scared me so bad. It because I think that it was like really hot one time, and like I said, my room doesn't have air conditioning, so I had to like leave it open to get the air conditioning into my room, and it scared me so bad to like leave my door open to a dark hallway. You don't like, I can't do that. I have to have my door locked or I will die. What is this? Is this their own take on Paranormal Activity? Look at that. Ah. Whoa. What was that? He called medic. A demon. A non-human spirit. I still say that it would be so fun to go ghost hunting. Like, I would love to go to like those abandoned buildings at night and ghost hunt. Granted, I would be scared. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be scared to go into like a dark abandoned building and ghost hunt, but it would be fun. It's like the thrill of it, you know. No. Is this supposed to be the was that supposed to be the equivalent of like in the movie when the lady gets up and then just stands over her husband for like 4 hours? That was so when the body flies at the camera in the first Paranormal Activity movie, it's like there's like a lot of build up to it. That just kind of happened. That one just kind of happened. Well, I think that might be it for tonight. We went on for nearly 3 hours. I had a thing that I was wanting to do with a friend later that I've been planning for like a week, so I wanted to go and do that. We'll raid either Mamu or Pocky, either or, because I know they're both doing stuff tonight. Let's see. Let's go to who do we Pocky. Let me close the window capture and we'll hello. Let me turn music back on. Aki's playing Alien Isolation.
Or Xena? I like to think it's a girl.
Yeah. Ooh, but Mamu is also doing D&D. Let's go raid Mamu because I've been in a D&D mood. I've been in a D&D mood, so let's go raid Mamu because Mamu's doing D&D stuff. Mamu. So, raid. Mamuranth. Raid. Go. Alright, no raid message, because I don't think there's enough people to do a raid message right now. But I hope that you have fun in Mamu's chat. Thank you for hanging out. It was fun to watch Gmod horror stuff. Yay! Bye!